Belt and Road.
Belt and Road, Belt and Road.
Model after the original Silk Road.
Developing countries will be at the center of that.
Connect Asia, Africa, and Europe.
What's ahead for Belt and Road?
What would that look like to become the master of the entire universe? Are you ready to experience how China is taking over 80% of the ports in the world? The interactive China Overseas Port shows the ownership of Chinese overseas ports and the kind of investment over time and across different areas. It also assesses the potential for ports owned, built, or run by Chinese firms, which can be used for both military and economic purposes. This interactive database contains 101 port developments where Chinese companies have gained operational and equity ownership positions. Did you know that China runs or owns at least one port on every continent? Even though Antarctica is an exception, this ownership is huge enough to surprise us. Are you aware of that food chain that once turned as a hot dog stand and is now turned into a market capturer? Yes, you guessed it right. We're talking about McDonald's, which once started as a small drive-through model and later converted into the largest food chain ever. But how did they achieve that? They implemented a system called Speedy Service System, which gave them an edge over their traditional competitors. A person named Kronk bought the license to franchise the food chain nationwide, which resulted in their success. But is the story similar to China owning ports all over the world? We can see that 9 out of 101 ports owned by China became dormant by the end of September 2023, but what might be the reason for this? Did the ports perform any illegal activities? No. At that time, there were concerns about the environment, deteriorating political ties, financial difficulties, and security considerations, which resulted in the suspension of these ports. However, some ports that were put on hold, like the Khalifa port in the United Arab Emirates, might resume construction. You might be surprised to know that China carries out about 95% of its international trade via maritime lanes and is the second biggest economy and the largest trading nation in the world. Most of the advancement happened after Chinese President Xi Jinping announced the Belt and Road Initiative in 2013 and the establishment of the 21st Century Maritime Silk Road. We can see that Xi has personally underlined how crucial ports are to the growth of the economy. Moreover, he emphasized the role of ports in economic development while visiting Tishan Port in Guangxi Province in April 2017. Xi said, "We frequently say that to get rich, we must first build roads. However, in coastal areas, to get rich, we must also first build ports." According to a Twitter post published by the Chinese mission to the UN, they emphasized the importance of building a multi-dimensional Belt and Road connectivity network. The post was published in October 2023, where they said that China would speed up building high-quality China-Europe and Railway Express. Moreover, they added that they would take steps to integrate ports, shipping, and trading services under the Silk Road Maritime. Additionally, they said that China will speed up the building of the new international land-sea trade corridor and the Air Silk Road. But will this alone solve the current issues in China? If you take a closer look, you'll see that China is facing huge unemployment issues. Hence, graduates are forced back to their hometowns even after searching for 6 months for a job. Will this new port development improve the job opportunities in China? China has signed 70 bilateral and regional shipping agreements with 66 countries since September 2023. They now have service networks and shipping routes that reach most of the world's major nations and regions. You might have heard that building networks as a person will help you grow. Imagine you're planning to start a business, and if you already have a lot of connections who are already running a business, it won't be that difficult for you to start one. Similarly, building connections between countries is important for nations as it will help develop the country. China has developed into a major commercial power with the help of geo-economic influence over the international sea lanes and commercial ports. Your eyes might drop when you know the fact that it doesn't yet possess a large fleet and only has a small number of naval bases aboard. But how did China achieve this success? Beijing state-owned port and shipping enterprises have created a new maritime empire that will help China achieve national goals. This is a nightmare for other nations since they need to employ their military power to achieve this. Are you aware of the famous quote from Lao Tzu? He said, "Mastering others is strength, mastering yourself is true power." China had identified its strength, which helped it to become the king of the port empire. What might be the story if China had focused on the power of other nations? The situation might have been different if China had sat simply without taking any action. We can see that China has reverse engineered the historical logic of international power and conquest using the American invention of the shipping container, which helped them succeed. The same approach helped them succeed in other areas like housewares, electronics, drugs, solar energy, and electric vehicles. We can see that China also implemented another great strategy. Instead of attacking Western ports and then attempting to impose Chinese political control over the hostile, China made something different. They've chosen to effectively seize control of vital infrastructure through its state-owned shipping and port enterprises. Moreover, they used their physical presence on the soil of several developed nations through their political influence. Did anyone imagine such a move from China? If so, these nations would have acted accordingly. Do you remember the business that you planned earlier? With the help of good connections, you were able to learn a lot of things. However, you came to know that it's equally important to analyze competition before starting a business. Hence, through competitor analysis, you were able to identify a gap in the market which is going to make your product succeed. China made a similar approach, and they identified that their shipping containers would require new infrastructure. This is important because it will help move containers between the ships and the shore. Hence, China began to develop the capacity to build ships, ports, containers, cranes, and finally, logistics management software in the late 1970s, starting with its shipping lines and ports. The American shipping container helped China generate export revenue to finance the construction of this port line. Moreover, China has realized that ports are the hubs of influence, and they're the places where global governance and digital and physical networks come together. Hence, China is able to bring their A game. Now, a serious question might have been raised in your mind. Will China be using the ports for its military purposes? According to a post by FT World News, China is sending ships to serve the global seaports. Previously, ports like Jarale in Djibouti, Hodeidah in Yemen, and Jeddah in Saudi Arabia have been served by the smaller Chinese lines. However, all of these ports have shown a significant decline in traffic as international container shipping lines have diverted to escape possible attacks by Yemen's Houthi rebels. You might be surprised to know that China has another advantage. The group's leaders have said that they will not attack those connected to China or Russia as long as the vessels have no connections to Israel. In which ways can China utilize these ports? We can see that there are rising concerns over China's establishment of naval bases among Western nations. The Communist Party of China and the Chinese government can have an impact on international trade and logistics despite the possibility of increasing Western scrutiny. Moreover, we can see that China has a significant impact on the global trade supply chains through this port connectivity. Does this mean that China is going to take over the world with its port building strategy? Another concern with China is the growing impact of recent US export controls on semiconductors on China's shipping logistics and network. But will it actually create any effects? The semiconductors are usually transported through airways rather than seaports. Hence, chances are very low that there can be an impact. The question remains, will China use this power to destroy the world? And this is how China is positioning itself as a major player in global port operations. If you found this video insightful and want to keep up with more content just like this, please hit the like button to support our channel. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest videos. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.